Hello, Puggies, and welcome to the Livin the Pug Life show, brought to you by Pug Parties, because your pug deserves to be the best dressed pug at the party. I'm your host, Donna, and tonight both of my co-hosts have ditched me for Dad and the electric blanket on the couch. I'm a little bit depressed about the fact that apparently my lap is no longer good enough when I think it's only about 4 degrees at the moment. So in some ways, I suppose, can you really blame them? So in this week's episode, I'm going to talk to you about being a pug supermodel and how you can prepare yourself should you ever decide to become one. I personally think that any puggy can be a supermodel, but the decision is not actually up to me or the parent for that matter. So tune in and enjoy tonight's episode and find out why it's so important that the puggy makes the final decision. But before we do that, I do want to say a quick hello to everyone who's joined us tonight, and also mention that I'll be showing you some behind the scenes footage from the last 4 years whilst I'm sharing our tips for being a puggy supermodel. So you can see just how much fun we have in all the chaos that is a Pug Parties photo shoot. And I can see that Tonka and Kim, I can see, hello guys. Just give me a second, guys. For some reason, my video won't start with me. I've just got to do one thing and then I'll pop back right. Aha, there we go. So apparently YouTube doesn't like me talking without the video playing at the same time. Who would have thought? But the upside is we've got a good 30 minutes of footage of what it's like being a pug supermodel when it comes to a photo shoot for Pug Parties. So please, as I'm talking, enjoy it. So as I was saying before, hello to Kim and Tonka, and I did see, hello Minnie. How are the 4 rascals going after this morning's playgroup? It really was cold, guys. It was really, really cold. So I can only imagine how everybody else is going. So this particular one, I do love it when we do a photo shoot in our local park. This is obviously in summertime. I look at all that beautiful sunshine and I think, oh, where have you gone, sunshine? Where have you gone? But that's fine. So anyway, the point of today's show was I get a lot of questions around the difference between a pug supermodel and what we like to call a guest pug supermodel. There's actually no difference. Probably for us, we just say guest because sometimes a puggy just wants to give it a go once and see if they like it. And so they'll just do like a little what we call a capsule photo shoot. And then other times we have puggies that we have every time we do a photo shoot because we do try and cover as many different types of pugs as possibly can, whether that's a black or a fawn pug or they're a puggaloo or any other cross. It's literally whoever wants to put their hand up and say, hey, I'd actually like to have it a go. So, of course, our question for tonight is, can any puggy be a supermodel? Well, the easy answer is an emphatic yes from me, noting that I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And it doesn't matter if you're wearing, for me, being a puggy supermodel or Yep, Puggy supermodel. It doesn't matter if you're wearing clothes or accessories when you're striking a Puggy pose either, because a Pug supermodel can look just as adorable naked, tilting their head, dropping their ears back a little bit and widening their big puggy eyes. And I'm sure that you all know the look that I'm actually talking about, those little rascals. That would be the look that says, please feed me. And I just know, how's my video going? It's all going well. That's the most important thing. Now, the not so easy answer to here is a pug parent is that not every puggy actually wants to be a pug supermodel, which means no matter how much fun they're having at a photo shoot or just in everyday life, because you don't need to, in my opinion, be a Puggy supermodel to enjoy having photos taken of you. It's whether or not they agree to being dressed. And if they don't agree, then usually it's because they won't sit long enough to even get a clear photograph. And I mean, who can blame them with so much going on, as you can see by some of the film, not to mention that they know that there are treaties stashed away in your pocket ready for the stealing. Because I know that for Andrew and I, when we're taking photos, that's exactly where we stash away the treaties during photo shoots. They're not silly, these puggies. They know exactly where to go. So I'm positive that whenever we have a new puggy who's trying out to be a pug supermodel, they're thinking, oh, yes, Tonka managed to do it. He did it beautifully. But I'm almost positive that they're thinking, why not just give me the treat now, human? I mean, you know that I can pose because I'll do it when I actually want to. And I'm a natural because you tell me so all the time. But what I've found is that most puggies love getting their photos taken because they know that a photo means cuddles and treaties at a minimum, not to mention being the center of attention for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Let's face it, like when you're taking like a lot of photos, you need to take a lot of photos to get one really good one, then they know that there's going to be a reward at the end. So having said that, we have figured out the hard way that each puggy needs to get used to the process in their own time. And the more time you invest in making them feel comfortable, the more enjoyable it'll be for everyone, and you'll get the best pictures to boot. So what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is 5 things. The importance of introductions, why taking it slowly helps get you and your puggy comfortable with the whole process, knowing when to stop and just walk away, which is actually really important, why capturing your puggy's natural expression will give you the best photos, and why practicing really does help. This applies to any sort of photo shoot that you would like to do. So whether it's you're coming to do something for Pug Parties, or you've decided to go and get some lovely professional photos that you want to hang up on your wall of your puggy, all of these things apply. So check them out and hopefully they help you in the future. So our first tip is introductions are important, especially if it's the first time your puggy's been to a photo shoot or hasn't had photos taken of them previously. Now, if you're taking the photos yourself, then your puggy is already comfortable with you and no doubt probably used to you whipping out your phone at random times so that you can capture some beautiful memories that you'll be able to enjoy for years to come, which is just spot on. However, if you've decided to get professional photos of your puggy done, or they become a pug supermodel for Pug Parties, for instance, then it's really important that your puggy meets the photographer and their staff if they have them, and also gets the opportunity to get to know them and the studio or location first before anything else happens. Now, by location, I mean if you're at a park or something similar. So you don't always do photo shoots just in a studio. So we find that giving a puggy an opportunity to have a good sniff around and, most importantly, approach the photographer in their own time works really well. Now, the puggy feels like they're in charge of the situation. They feel like they've had time to understand their surroundings and that they have the ability to make a decision if they want to stay or not. Now, I find this especially important for rescue puggies who've had a rough start to life. They need to feel safe and in control. And by giving them the power to decide when they approach the photographer goes a long way to building their confidence and comfort levels, not to mention their trust in the photographer. Now, if a puggy refuses to leave their human side, we know that the session is over. A puggy's happiness is more important than taking photos, And if their humans want to try again another time, we want the Puggies' experience with us to always be positive, absolutely positive. So our next tip is to expose your Puggies to the entire process a little bit at a time. And I'm going to explain what a little bit at a time means in a second. So sometimes what can happen is you get to the photo shoot, then you get dressed, then you walk into the studio with the lights and the photographer and the seat and the toys, and then you're being exposed to the flash of the camera, and it can all just get a little bit too much for a first-time supermodel. So we tend to take it a little bit slower for our new supermodels or our guest supermodels if it's a one-off thing. So what we'll do is we'll let them come in and have a play with the other Puggies at the shoot, because usually when we do a shoot, we have a number of puppies there all having fun. We'll let them run around and check out the waiting area and get to know the other Pug Pawrents as well, because it's wonderful. Everyone sort of pitches in, which is really good. And technically what ends up happening is that the new puppy gets loads of attention, and they also get to sneak a few more treaties without their human actually noticing, which I think is pretty cool. Then what we'll do is, after they've had a little bit of a play, we'll dress them in their first outfit, and then we'll go back to playing and checking things out. So literally it's one little bit at a time, go and have a little bit of fun. The next little bit, go and have a little bit of fun. And then only after we can see that they're having lots of fun and they're not hiding behind their human, we'll get them to come into the studio with their human. Sometimes they don't want their human there, believe it or not, but most of the times they do. And then what we'll do is we'll have a few treaties strategically placed in the area that we would like them to sort of sit or lie down or whatever it is that they want to do, so that they associate that spot with something wonderful. So treaties, like yummy stuff. What we also do is if the Puggies are really playful one, and obviously we do have younger Puggies like Tonka, he loves a play. We'll play with them for a minute or two so they really associate that spot with tickles or kisses or cuddles or treats or whatever it is that sort of gets them really comfortable. And then all of a sudden you get some great pictures of them just with little bright sparkly eyes. Now, we're not joking when we say that our supermodels don't pose for anything less than 10,000 treaties a session, because sometimes it literally takes 10,000 treaties to get them all through a session. Now, this whole process might take 10 minutes or it might take 30 minutes. For us, it actually doesn't matter. The important thing about this process is that we're allowing the Puggie the opportunity to take it all in their own time. So when we ask them into the studio to take their photo next time, the Puggie's having so much fun that they literally barge into the studio ahead of us and start to pose before we've even had time to get the camera out. And I can say this, yes, we do have Puggies who love it so much that they want the studio all to themselves all the time. And they will bark at the door to be let in when it's somebody else's turn. I won't mention the particular Puggie that does it, but she's a girl and she's not Rosie. I will say that Rosie does do that, but we have another girl and it's really quite funny. Now if we have a little Puggie who's a little bit nervous around other Puggies, we'll actually arrange a solo shoot for them with their human. That is because their comfort is just so important. We do everything the same. The only thing that we don't do is that we just remove the stress of there being other Puggies around them as they're getting the hang of things. And as I said, rescue Puggies that are new to the life, that's generally what we do the first time. Believe it or not, Rosie was like that the first time she did a photo shoot. We actually have a photo of her fast asleep on top of the lounge away from all the other Puggies. She literally stayed up there until we got her dressed, and then we took her in for her first photo. She was happy in the studio by herself, but then when she went back out, she had to sit up on the top of the lounge away from all the other puppies. And so what we decided was the next time we had a photo shoot, Rosie had her own photo shoot all by herself, which, believe it or not, she absolutely loved. Now, for those of you who do know some of the other pug supermodels that we use on a regular basis and who come over for photo shoots, you'll know that Rosie doesn't care. She barges through. This is her place. She wants all the photos, and she'll do whatever she can to steal all the limelight. So you know what? Just because it starts out a little bit doesn't always mean that it ends that way. So our next tip, and yes, I just saw Rachel's comment. Aggie would absolutely love it. I know. Definitely. Maybe we need to do like a remote photo shoot. We'll have to figure that out one day. So our next tip is to know when to walk away. So even after all of our careful preparation, socialization, treaty giving, cuddles, kisses, sometimes it is just not our day to get photos. It's as simple as that. And this happens with new pugs as well as more seasoned pug supermodels. Typically, we figure out pretty quickly that a puggy, when they jump off the lounge that they've been sitting on, or they dip their head, or they just plain turn their back on us, these are all signs that they're not interested in getting their photo taken, or that they just had enough today because they may have already had 1 or 2 rounds of photos already run. So sometimes it might be a ploy for extra treaties. We have had a couple do that in time. But generally, we know when they're just feeling that this part of the game today, they're just not there. So what we do is we give them a kiss and we send them back out to play. Rarely do they come back in. Sometimes they decide that, now's the time to do it, and it's now. And we hear them barking at the door that now is the time. But typically speaking, if they've had enough, they've had enough. So normally we would plan for like our sort of photo shoot, we would plan 2 to 3 outfits per supermodel in a photo session. Sometimes a pug will do less, sometimes they'll do more, and it's literally determined on the day. Unlike human photo shoots where a model will go through multiple outfits in a session, we find that on average, a pug will do a maximum of about 3 outfits over 2 hours. And if you think that like in what we normally take is probably on average 5 minutes to photograph or get enough photos of the pug in their outfit to make sure that we've got enough clear ones that aren't blurry and all that sort of stuff, that's actually not a lot of photographing time. Most of their time in that 2 hours is out playing. They're not working. So for me, that is like the best supermodel routine that anybody could ask for. Lord knows our puggies do enjoy it. Now, I know it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Forcing your pug to do something they don't want to do is futile, not to mention mean. So we value our puggies and their happiness above everything else, including getting a perfect photo. So my next piece of advice is smiling is not a given. Natural poses are actually the best. As much as, I love seeing Rosie and Charles smiling at me with their beautiful eyes and their wrinkles looking at me, hoping for one more treaty. And I've got some wonderful photos of every one of our guest and full-time supermodels smiling, looking wonderful. But the simple fact is that pugs don't smile all the time. They just don't. They have the most expressive faces and they use every one of them to very good effect when they choose to. So we prefer to show photos on our website and social media accounts that show every expression a puggy has, even the grumpy ones. Is that a Bruce Pugstein in the denim jacket? Yes, that's Oscar. He's gorgeous. So speaking of grumpy, Charles these days is a naturally grumpy old man. And most of his photos are of him looking like a grumpy old man. So, and you'd wonder why sometimes, because to be honest, that pug is on so many drugs these days for all of his ailments because he's so old. You'd think he'd be smiling more often. So Rosie is almost the opposite. So she's really inquisitive and she'll wear a serious I'm listening face, or she has that head tilt that sort of says, what are you talking about, Mum? What are you doing? I don't understand. And it's absolutely adorable. Both of them are absolutely adorable, and there is nothing wrong with either expression. So all expressions should be celebrated on film just as much as smiling is, in my opinion, And that is why our social media accounts and our website do show as many expressions as we can, including the tongues out ones. Now, I recommend getting to know your puggies' expressions and immortalising them on film. You'll be happy when you do, because when you're remembering them and their personality in the future, there's nothing better than looking at all these amazing photos of your pug with all of these different expressions that you will remember about them. So, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm telling you something obvious, but similarly, practice really does make for perfect photos. So this is our next tip. The more your puggy sees a camera or phone and associates it with a bit of fun, they'll begin to forget that it's there in the first place. And when you're trying to get action shots, this is actually really important, because what you're looking for is to get them to sit still long enough, or at least get them an action shot where it's a non-blurry one, and they figure out that the equation of, and I love this equation, camera coupled with the sit command equals sit still, look gorgeous, and there'll be a treaty and a cuddle at the end. That's what we try to achieve when we're doing a studio or we're doing an outside photo shoot. I'll also mention that for every in focus, eyes open, face forward photo that you get of your puggy, you will take 100 blurry, tongue out, looking left or right, or it's mid sneeze, or tongue out, or something along those lines. Like literally, there will be 100 of those to one perfect one. It's all part of the fun. And thankfully, these days with digital cameras, you can just delete the ones that you don't want and keep it. But I recommend keeping a few as a bit of a happy reminder of the fun you both had trying to get the great one. So we keep a few of our blooper photos for that very reason, and we do share them every now on the Facebook group. So in the end, the most important thing to remember is that any puggy can be a supermodel, professional or amateur. And as long as they think it's a fun game that they get to play and stop when they've had enough, you'll get the best photos that you'll be able to share with your friends and family for years and years to come. So I really hope that all of these tips really helped. And I also really hope that you're enjoying seeing all these behind the scenes footage. This particular video that's just come off now, that was taken by Winston, who was Charles's litter brother. He had a GoPro on his back. And instead of actually having Winston dressed up during the photo shoot that we were doing at a local dog cafe, we had Winston as our unofficial pug news reporter running around, and you obviously just got a snapshot of what ended up being half a day's worth of footage. Some of the footage was just crazy. The things that, I have to admit, Winston was very food orientated, which meant some of the footage was actually chasing after food that was being handed out to all the other pug supermodels. But it is quite interesting to see the unique perspective of a photo shoot like one of our photo shoots when we're on location from a pug's perspective. It was just, to me, it was chaos. It was almost like through Winston's eyes, there was so much going on and I just didn't know what to do first. So I really hope that you did enjoy seeing all that video footage and seeing what we do in the background. The video that you can currently see is us of naked photos of puppies, and that is that particular pug. That's her mum holding the treats above Andrew's head as Andrew tries to get the photo. That is literally what we have to do to try and get that one perfect photo where the puggy is looking down the barrel of the camera and actually hopefully smiling, but having a ball. That's the most important thing, however that happens. So thank you so much, guys. Oh, thank you. Whoever it was that just said this was, thank you, Rachel. It was a little bit different. And there was a reason why tonight's episode was a little bit different to our usual episodes where we do have a guest of some sort. So I do want to say thank you for joining me tonight. I'm really sorry that Rosie and Charles decided that the electric blanket with Dad was a better offer than what Mum could offer in the office. I hope you enjoyed learning about what it takes to be a pug supermodel, and then it can be as fun as it looks, as you can see by our behind the scenes video that we've shared. We'll be hanging around after the show as always, and if anybody has got any questions, please put them in the comments section. I'll be more than happy to share. And if you are Melbourne based currently, I'm really sorry, Agatha, then let me know if you would like to become a guest pug supermodel to see if you actually like doing it, because we'll be doing another photo shoot in the next couple of months. I also wanted to let you know some inside news. The Live in the Pug Life live stream is actually going full audio. That's right, Puggies. Over the last 6 months, we've been working on converting the live show into a podcast. And I'm very happy to announce to you tonight that our next episode, which will be episode 40 of the live series, will actually be our last one. Because come Sunday, the 7th of August at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, the Pug Life Show podcast will officially go live. We will be releasing the same time as what we did with the live show, but it will be a podcast version, or a pugcast, if that's what you prefer to call it. We will release every Sunday night. So that's actually, we're going back to the format that we had last year. And that was what we were really hoping to do, and we're really excited that our first episode will be the 7th of August. So the Pug Life Show will still share the stories of ordinary puggies and their pug life, plus we'll share the slightly tragic but ultimately wonderful rescue stories that end with a puggily ever after. We'll still invite businesses and interview them so they can tell us about their goods and services that are there to make your puggies' lives better. But the addition to it is that every other week that we're not interviewing, I'm going to discuss a topic that's important to us as pug parents and pug owners, such as why being a crazy pug lady is actually the best job in the world, plus other topics like this one. Can any puggy be a supermodel? The Live in the Pug Life Facebook group will still be our place to talk and announce our episode topics every week. So please continue to share your thoughts and opinions. And if there's a topic that you want discussed, please let me know, because each interview and topic will be covered each week. And we're always going to be there to share in that conversation as well. But never fear, we haven't left you short with the live stream series, because we still have one episode to go. And it's going to be great, I promise you. So we've lined up a fabulous little puggy grumble. So we'll be talking to Lee about her pugs, Rexy, Ella, and Sky, and what it's like to practice hoopers. And if you're wondering what hoopers is, then you'll just have to tune in at 7 o'clock on Sunday, the 24th of July, to find out and celebrate with me what is going to be the last episode of our live stream series, which I have absolutely loved doing and sharing with you before we transfer to the podcast, where I hope that it'll be at least a little bit more accessible, because you'll be able to listen to it when you're at playgroup, when you're going for a walk, when you're having a bath. It's going to be awesome. So puggies, until next time, have a pawsome week, and humans, be generous with the snackies. See you in 2 weeks.